Most people don't even look twice at the nickels sitting in their pockets or jars at home. But what if I told you that some of those ordinary-looking Jefferson nickels could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? These rare coins are hiding in plain sight, and you might have one right now without even knowing it. From minting mistakes to limited editions and special years, these 5 Jefferson nickels have shocked collectors around the world with their unbelievable values. So before you spend that change or toss that nickel aside, stay tuned, because I'm about to reveal the 5 rarest Jefferson nickels that could turn your small pocket change into a serious fortune. Have you ever held a small 5-cent piece in your hand and wondered if it carried with it a hidden story, one that goes beyond the everyday exchange of goods and services, one that reveals a piece of American history, artistry, and economic design? The Jefferson nickel of 1975 is one such coin, a coin that on the surface might seem ordinary because millions were struck and used in circulation, but upon deeper exploration, it unfolds into a remarkable journey through numismatic history, minting, practices, and the American spirit that continued to define coinage during the mid-1970s. The 1975 Jefferson nickel belongs to a long line of coins that started in 1938 when the United States Mint decided to replace the Buffalo nickel with a design honoring the 3rd President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, and the structure most closely associated with him, Monticello, the neoclassical home he designed in Virginia. The nickel design, created by Felix Schlag, became one of the longest running coin designs in American history, and by 1975 it had already been in production for nearly 4 decades through war shortages, minting changes, and countless economic shifts. The year 1975 itself is significant in American numismatic history, because it stands right before one of the most important bicentennial celebrations in United States coinage, the bicentennial of 1976, that introduced new quarter, half dollar, and dollar coin designs. However, the Jefferson nickel was not changed. For the bicentennial, instead, it retained its classic Schlag design and continued to be a workhorse coin in circulation. The 1975 nickel thus represents a fascinating point in the timeline. It was a coin bridging the years before the bicentennial, without fanfare, yet maintaining the legacy of Jefferson on the 5-cent piece. In 1975, the nickel was struck at 3 main facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia produced the 1975 Jefferson nickels without a mint mark. Denver used the D mint mark, and San Francisco issued proof coins with the S mint mark. These variations are critical to collectors because while millions were struck, not all coins survived in pristine condition. Circulation wear quickly reduced sharpness of design, and many coins ended up lost, damaged, or melted. The proof issues from San Francisco are especially sought after because they were not meant for circulation but for collectors and were struck with polished dies, giving them mirror-like finishes that stand in contrast to regular issues. The composition of the 1975 Jefferson nickel remained the same as it had been since the end of World War II. It was made of a copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This gave it durability and a distinctive silvery appearance. During the war years, the alloy had been temporarily changed to include silver due to wartime shortages. But by 1975, the original copper-nickel formula had long been restored. This composition was chosen not only for its resilience but also for the way it worked in vending machines, which became an increasingly important factor in coin design during the 20th century. From a design perspective, the 1975 Jefferson nickel carried Schlag's classic portrait of Jefferson on the obverse, his profile facing left with the word "Liberty" to the left, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the date, 1975, clearly visible. The reverse showed Monticello, Jefferson's home, with its domed architecture and neoclassical balance. The inscriptions "Monticello e pluribus unum" and "United States of America." 5 cents framed the design. This design had remained largely unchanged since 1938, though over the years slight modifications had been made to improve detail and clarity. Collectors today analyze the 1975 Jefferson nickel, not just for its basic history, but also for the many varieties and errors that arose in its production. The mid-1970s saw high mintages, but also saw instances of striking anomalies, including off-center strikes, weak strikes, and die breaks that created fascinating error coins, which now command significant interest in the numismatic market. Proof nickels from San Francisco in deep cameo condition, where the raised design appears frosty against mirror fields, are particularly desirable and can bring high values when graded by professional services. The coin's historical context adds another layer of richness to its story. America in 1975 was a nation in transition, still healing from the Vietnam War, adjusting to economic pressures of inflation and oil crises, and looking forward to the bicentennial celebration of 1976. Coins like the 1975 nickel served not just as currency, but as daily reminders of continuity and tradition. Jefferson's face on the coin reflected ideals of liberty, knowledge, and innovation, which were especially resonant during times of challenge. The nickel was small, yet symbolic, an object of everyday life. Carrying profound meaning for 2 hours, one can trace the path of this coin from its origins in Schlag's winning design in 1938 through the wartime silver nickels of the 1940s into the post-war era of mass circulation and vending machine culture. And finally into the mid-1970s, when the United States Mint continued to strike billions of coins annually. The 1975 Jefferson nickel is a chapter in this evolving narrative, a coin that, despite its abundance, retains importance for collectors, historians, and ordinary Americans who unknowingly carried a piece of that story in their pockets. When examining the 1975 nickel in a professional numismatic context, we must also look at the grading scale used to assess its condition. Coins range from poor and heavily worn to mint state examples with full steps on Monticello, a designation that refers to the clarity of the steps on the building's design. These full-step nickels are highly prized because they demonstrate a strong strike and preservation. From circulation in 1975, full-step examples are scarcer and command premiums because most nickels from that year did not survive with such detail intact. The lasting legacy of the 1975 Jefferson nickel is not that it introduced a dramatic new design or commemorated a historic event, but rather that it quietly carried forward the tradition of Jefferson's place on the nickel as America prepared for its bicentennial. The coin is a reminder that even in years of continuity, coins reflect the values, priorities, and craftsmanship of their time. Collectors treasure it for its varieties, proof issues, and condition rarities, while historians see it as part of a broader narrative of American coinage. So when you hold a 1975 Jefferson nickel in your hand, you are not just holding a small 5-cent piece. You are holding a continuation of a story that began in 1938. You are holding a coin that passed through millions of transactions in an America that was changing rapidly. You are holding a piece of artistry struck in copper and nickel that connected past, present, and future, and you are holding a symbol of Jefferson's enduring legacy on American money. Imagine holding a simple 5-cent piece in your hand and realizing that it tells a story of American history, design, legacy, minting technology, and a continuing journey that stretches back to 1938. The Jefferson nickel has been a constant presence in American coinage, and in 1996, the United States Mint continued that tradition with a coin that at first glance may appear ordinary. Yet beneath its surface, it holds remarkable importance both to collectors and historians alike. The 1996 Jefferson nickel represents a point in the series where decades of tradition, design, and production merged with the evolving technological advances of the U.S. Mint, and it is a coin that speaks to stability in an era of change. To understand the 1996 Jefferson nickel, we must first revisit the origins of the series itself, created in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. The Jefferson nickel was designed by Felix Schlag, whose portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the depiction of Monticello On the reverse became enduring symbols of the American 5-cent piece. Schlag's design underwent subtle modifications over time, yet it remained largely intact through the late 20th century, and the 1996 issue is part of that long, continuous chapter. By the 1990s, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for nearly 6 decades, and the design was deeply familiar to generations of Americans. The obverse displayed the left-facing bust of Thomas Jefferson with the inscriptions, "In God we trust, liberty," and the date, while the reverse continued to feature Monticello Jefferson's Virginia estate with the inscriptions, "E pluribus unum, Monticello 5 cents," and "United States of America." The 1996 nickel carried this same iconic design, making it instantly recognizable to the millions who used it in everyday commerce, and yet for numismatists and specialists, this coin offers far more than simple familiarity. The minting of the 1996 nickel took place at multiple facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each contributing their own distinct mint marks and production characteristics. Philadelphia struck coins without a mint mark, as was customary since 1980. Denver coins carried the D mint mark, and San Francisco issued proof coins for collectors marked with the S mint mark. The proof issues are especially significant because they represent the highest level of craftsmanship, from the mint struck on specially prepared dies and planchets to create mirror-like surfaces and frosted devices. Proof nickels from 1996 embody the artistry and precision that serious collectors seek in terms of production numbers. The 1996 Jefferson nickel was minted in the hundreds of millions, making it a common coin in circulation. However, the details of strike-quality mint luster and die state all contribute to the collector value. High-grade examples, particularly those in mint state 67 or higher, are significantly scarcer and prized by numismatists. The San Francisco proofs are even more carefully preserved, and examples in flawless condition graded PR70 deep cameo are among the most desirable. But what makes the 1996 nickel particularly interesting is the context of its time. The mid-1990s marked a period of change in the world of American coinage technology. At the United States Mint was advancing rapidly with improvements in DI making and quality control, allowing for sharper strikes and more consistent production. At the same time, the coin collecting community was growing with renewed interest, fueled by the rise of third-party grading services, which provided collectors with standardized evaluations of condition and authenticity. This trend meant that ordinary circulating issues, like the 1996 nickel, could be examined under new scrutiny, with collectors searching for varieties, errors, and high-grade specimens. Error coins from 1996 have drawn special attention among collectors. Examples include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, double dies, and other minting anomalies. Each error transforms a common coin into a rare collectible commanding much higher values and serving as a reminder of the unpredictable human and mechanical factors at play within the minting process. These errors give the 1996 nickel an added layer of intrigue, making each surviving piece a potential treasure waiting to be discovered in pocket change. The design itself invites further appreciation. Thomas Jefferson, as the third President of the United States, author of the Declaration of Independence and a central figure in American history, has long been honored through his presence on the nickel, and Monticello, his architectural masterpiece, reflects his vision of art, science, and nation-building. The continuation of Schlag's design in 1996 connects the coin directly to this legacy, reinforcing the cultural and educational value of even the most ordinary 5-cent piece. As collectors examine the 1996 Jefferson nickel, they often look to grade rarity and strike quality. Yet the deeper story lies in how this coin connects to the larger narrative of American numismatics. It stands at the crossroads between the old and the new, continuing a design that had endured since 1938 while existing just a few years before the dramatic changes that would come in the early 2000s with the Westward Journey nickel series and the eventual redesign of Jefferson's portrait, the 1996 nickel, therefore represents both continuity and the threshold of transition in circulation. The 1996 nickel served its basic purpose faithfully. Millions of Americans used it in daily life in vending machines at grocery stores and in countless small transactions. Its durability and practicality were a testament to the efficiency of American coinage. Yet, in collections, it became a point of study, a piece where condition rarity and even the smallest variations in die production could make the difference between a common coin and a highly sought-after prize. Looking at the 1996 Jefferson nickel today, we can appreciate it not just as currency, but as a snapshot of numismatic history. It belongs to an era where coinage was stable and consistent, yet where collectors were beginning to view even modern issues with a sharper eye. It is a coin that tells a story of design endurance, minting progress, and collector enthusiasm. Its role in the larger Jefferson nickel series is a vital one, representing both the longevity of Schlag's vision and the ongoing relevance of Jefferson and Monticello in American cultural memory. Thus, the 1996 Jefferson nickel is more than a simple piece of change. It is a link in the long chain of American coinage history. It is a testament to the artistry of Felix Schlag, the technological capabilities of the U.S. Mint in the 1990s, and the unbroken tradition of honoring Jefferson's legacy through numismatic design for the collector, the historian, and the casual observer alike. The 1996 nickel offers a chance to hold history in the palm of your hand and to see in its familiar surfaces a deeper story of America's past, present, and future. Imagine holding in your hand a simple 5-cent piece minted in 1974, a coin that millions of people passed through their daily lives, never realizing the fascinating history, the artistry, the economic background, and the small but meaningful changes that made this Jefferson nickel not just money, but a part of American culture and heritage. Welcome to the story of the 1974 Jefferson nickel, a coin that continues the proud legacy of American numismatics and reflects the journey of a nation through its economy, politics, and artistry. To understand the Jefferson nickel of 1974, we must first step back and remember why the Jefferson nickel series was introduced in the first place. In 1938, the United States Mint replaced the Buffalo nickel with a new design honoring Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, and one of the most influential figures in American history. The decision came after a design competition in which Felix Schlag, a German-born American sculptor, submitted. The winning entry, Schlag's design, featured a left-facing portrait of Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, his Virginia estate, on the reverse, and this design would endure with minor modifications for decades. By the time we reach 1974, the Jefferson nickel had been in circulation for 36 years, and the coin continued to be an essential part of daily commerce. It was struck at 3 different mints: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. The Philadelphia and Denver facilities produced the regular circulation strikes, while San Francisco issued proof coins for collectors. The 1974 nickel had a mintage running into the hundreds of millions, making it widely available across the country. But even within this enormous production, there are subtleties, differences, and interesting details that make the coin worthy of a deeper look. The obverse design of the 1974 nickel continues to display the portrait of Jefferson. Though over the decades, the detail of Schlag's original artistry had worn down through repeated die use and slight modifications, Jefferson's features appear bold yet softened compared to earlier strikes. The inscriptions include, "In God, we trust," to the left of the portrait, "Liberty," with the date 1974 to the right, and the mint mark, if present, just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail. The placement of the mint mark in 1974 is a notable detail, because beginning in 1968, the mint mark was moved to the obverse side beneath. The date before that, it had traditionally appeared on the reverse. The reverse of the 1974 nickel still depicts Monticello Jefferson's iconic home in Charlottesville, Virginia. The design shows the neoclassical architecture with its columned front. And central dome beneath the building is the word Monticello, followed by the denomination 5 cents, and the country name United States of America. Above the image is the motto E pluribus unum. The design, though simple, carries a stately appearance and has remained a recognizable symbol of American coinage for generations. From a technical perspective, the 1974 Jefferson nickel was struck in a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This metallic makeup had been used since the end of World War II, when the special wartime alloy of silver, manganese, and copper was discontinued. The return to the copper-nickel blend made the coin durable with a silver-like appearance that has allowed nickels to stand. The test of time in circulation. The weight of the coin remained at 5 grams with a diameter of 21.2 millimeters and a plain edge, all of which has been consistent throughout most of the Jefferson nickel series. In terms of mintages, the 1974 Philadelphia nickel saw a production of hundreds of millions, while the Denver Mint also struck large numbers, making the coin widely accessible. The San Francisco Mint created proof coins of the highest quality using specially prepared dies and planchets to produce mirror-like fields and frosted devices. These proof coins were intended for collectors and not for general circulation, making them desirable pieces today. The 1970s were an important period for American coinage, and the 1974 nickel must be seen. Within this context, the country was experiencing economic challenges, inflationary pressures, and changes in daily life. The use of coinage remained central to commerce, vending machines, transit fares, and countless small transactions. The nickel especially played a vital role since it bridged the gap between the penny and higher denominations in daily trade. From a collector's perspective, the 1974 Jefferson nickel might appear common at first glance because of its large mintages. However, condition rarity plays a huge role. Coins that survive in uncirculated grades, particularly those with sharp strikes and attractive luster, are always of interest. Proof versions, especially deep cameo examples from San Francisco, are considered premium by collectors. Another fascinating aspect lies in error coins of 1974. As with any large-scale production, mint errors such as off-center strikes, double strikes, die cracks, or planchet flaws exist, and these mistakes can transform a common nickel into a rare collectible, commanding much higher value in the numismatic marketplace. The grading of Jefferson nickels, including the 1974 issue, is an area of study in itself. Professional grading companies evaluate strike, sharpness, luster surface, preservation, and overall eye appeal. The highest levels of mint state condition can drastically increase the desirability of a coin. For example, a 1974 nickel graded at MS66 or higher may be far scarcer than its huge mintage suggests, due to the difficulty of preserving coins free of contact marks and wear. When examining proof nickels of 1974, collectors pay close attention to cameo and deep cameo contrasts, where the frosted portrait and Monticello stand out sharply. Against the reflective mirror-like fields, the development of this proof quality was a hallmark of San Francisco production in the 1970s, and a deep cameo example from 1974 is highly sought after today. Beyond the numismatic factors, the 1974 nickel is a window into American life. At the time, it was the age of post-Vietnam society. The Watergate scandal was shaking the political system, inflation was impacting the economy, and the American people were dealing with rapid cultural change. Yet through all this, the Jefferson nickel remained a constant symbol of stability in everyday commerce. To put the 1974 nickel into perspective, within the larger series, it represents a continuation of the long-standing Schlag design, which would remain in place until 2004, when the Westward Journey nickel series introduced new designs marking the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Thus, the 1974 issue falls within what many collectors call the classic era of Jefferson nickels, an era defined by traditional imagery and widespread use. For the advanced collector varieties of 1974, nickels can offer further intrigue. Die varieties, including repunched mint marks, doubled dies, and other small details are studied carefully by specialists. Some varieties may only be known to a few experts, but they highlight the complexity and craftsmanship involved in minting millions of coins every year. The Jefferson nickel series has long been a favorite for beginning collectors because the coins are affordable, widely available, and historically rich. A complete date and mint mark collection of Jefferson nickels provides a journey through American history from the late 1930s to the modern day, and the 1974 nickel holds its rightful place within. This narrative, while perhaps not rare in absolute numbers, it becomes significant as part of the long continuum of American coinage. As we reflect on the 1974 nickel, we realize that every coin has two stories. One is the technical story of its creation, the dies, the mints, the alloys, the mintages, the grades, and the varieties. The other is the human story of the time period, the hands it passed through, the economic backdrop, the historical events shaping the nation together. These stories make the Jefferson nickel not just a 5-cent piece, but a living artifact of American life. So when you hold a 1974 Jefferson nickel, remember that it is more than spare change. It is a link to Thomas Jefferson, to Felix Schlag, to the mints that produced it, and to the millions of Americans who used it in their daily lives. It is a coin that may seem ordinary, but carries with it extraordinary meaning in the world of numismatics and history, and that is the power of a simple nickel. Imagine holding in your hand a simple nickel dated 1990. At first glance, it may seem like just another coin in the long series of Jefferson nickels that Americans used in everyday life. Yet behind this coin, there is a rich story that connects history, design, economics, minting technology, and even the culture of late 20th century America. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, had by 1990 already been in production for more than 50 years. It replaced the Buffalo nickel and brought with it the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, designed by Felix Schlag, whose winning design became a cornerstone of modern U.S. coinage by 1990. This design had become so recognizable that people often overlooked its details, but for collectors and historians, the 1990 nickel offers more than just a date. It offers a window into a time of transition. The late 1980s and early 1990s were a period of global change. The Cold War was drawing to an end. Technology was rapidly advancing, and the United States Mint was undergoing its own set of improvements and adjustments in production methods. Coinage had to remain reliable and efficient, while also serving as a reflection of national identity. The Jefferson nickel was no exception, and the 1990 edition represents a coin struck with the precision of modern minting machinery, yet carrying a design that dated back over half a century. The obverse of the coin featured the classic profile of Thomas Jefferson. Facing left, his portrait had been refined slightly over the decades due to dye wear and technological adjustments, but the essence of Schlag's original design remained. Jefferson's hair detail, his coat collar, and the word Liberty, in his own handwriting style, continued to define the look of the coin. Above Jefferson's head read, "In God We Trust," while to the left appeared the word Liberty, followed by the year 1990. Mint marks P, D, or S would indicate whether the coin came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Each of these mints played a role in the production of nickels during that year. Philadelphia without a mint mark, Denver with a D, and San Francisco with an S, producing proof issues for collectors. On the reverse of the coin stood the image of Monticello Jefferson's Virginia estate, an iconic building that symbolized Jefferson's architectural talents as well as his vision for the young republic. The word Monticello appeared beneath the building, with the denomination 5 cents directly under it, and the words United States of America framing the base above Monticello. The Latin phrase E pluribus unum Out of many, one reminded citizens of the unifying principle of the nation. What makes the 1990 Jefferson nickel particularly significant is not a dramatic design change or a rare error, but rather its placement in the continuum of American coinage. By this time, the nickel had become a workhorse of commerce, billions of them circulated through the economy. But for collectors, subtle details became important. The quality of the strike, the sharpness of Jefferson's hair, and the steps of Monticello were often scrutinized. Collectors sought full-step examples on the reverse, where the steps of Monticello were fully struck, a feature that was not always easy to find. Even with modern minting technology, these full-step nickels became highly prized in 1990. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced massive numbers of nickels, intended for everyday circulation. Yet the San Francisco Mint produced proof nickels with mirror-like fields and frosted details sold to collectors in proof sets. These proof coins demonstrated the highest quality of mint craftsmanship at the time, while the circulation strikes reflected the efficiency of mass production. The economy of the early 1990s also added context. The United States was entering a recession, and yet coins like the nickel continued to serve as reliable symbols of stability. People trusted their change even as larger financial systems faced uncertainty. Holding a 1990 nickel meant holding a piece of continuity, a link between past and present errors and varieties, also make the 1990 Jefferson nickel interesting for collectors. While the year did not produce the dramatic double dies or overdates that other years sometimes did, there were still small minting anomalies such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or weak steps at Monticello. These coins, though often overlooked in circulation, became treasures for collectors who understood that mistakes in mass production added uniqueness to otherwise common coins. The Jefferson nickel itself had already lived through decades of American history from World War II, when its composition was changed to include silver due to wartime needs to the post-war boom of the 1950s and 1960s. By 1990, it was clear that the design was becoming one of the longest-running in U.S. coinage history. Second only to the Lincoln cent, the fact that Jefferson's portrait and Monticello remained unchanged for so long spoke to the enduring legacy of the design, for a coin that circulated in the pockets of everyday Americans. The 1990 nickel also carried cultural significance. Children might have used it in vending machines. Families may have tossed them into payphones. Drivers dropped them into toll booths. Its purchasing power, though modest, symbolized the daily rhythm of American life. Coins like this traveled across states, into stores, restaurants, and households, silently recording the movement of a nation. When we think about the artistry of Felix Schlag's design, it is important to remember that Monticello was not just an architectural achievement. It was a symbol of Jefferson's vision for an agrarian republic. His ideas about democracy and liberty were tied into his home, and by placing Monticello on the nickel, the mint tied those ideals directly into American commerce. Every transaction with a nickel carried a reminder of Jefferson's contributions to the country. By 1990, numismatics, the study of coins, was also experiencing growth. Coin shows, coin clubs, and publications provided collectors with knowledge and community. Jefferson nickels were popular among collectors because they were affordable, widely available, and yet full of variety. Collecting a complete set from 1938 to the present was a challenge that appealed to many, and the 1990 coin was a required piece in that long chain. Looking at the broader historical picture, 1990 was a year of transition. The Berlin Wall had recently fallen, and the Soviet Union was on the verge of collapse. The United States was preparing to enter the Gulf War. Technology was moving toward the computer age, and yet coins remained a constant. A nickel, dated 1990, was a product of that exact moment, a small artifact that carries with it the story of both stability and change. For collectors today, the 1990 Jefferson nickel may not command high values. in circulated condition since billions were produced, but high-grade examples, proof strikes, and those with full steps can attract significant attention in the numismatic market. They serve as a reminder that even common coins can become important when placed in the right context. So when you hold a 1990 Jefferson nickel, you are not simply looking at a piece of metal. You are holding the continuation of a tradition that began in 1938. You are holding the artistry of Felix Schlag preserved. Across decades, you are holding a coin that passed through the lives of ordinary Americans during a time of great change in the world, and you are holding a small but meaningful piece of history that continues to tell its story to anyone willing to listen. Imagine holding in your hand a simple 5-cent coin from 1998, a Jefferson nickel that at first glance looks like ordinary pocket change, but behind its familiar face lies a story of American history, artistry, economic change, and numismatic value. A story that connects Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers of the United States, to the mints of Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and to the millions of people who use these coins every day. This is not just a coin, it is a time capsule of 1998. A year of political events, technological growth, and cultural transformation, and when you understand its background, you will see that this Jefferson nickel is far more than just 5 cents. The 1998 Jefferson nickel continues a tradition that began in 1938 when the United States Mint introduced the Jefferson design created by sculptor Felix Schlag to replace the Buffalo nickel after a national competition. Schlag's winning design placed a left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse side, with the Monticello, his Virginia home, on the reverse, and it remained largely unchanged for decades, with only minor adjustments made to improve clarity and strike quality. By 1998, the design had already been in circulation for 60 years, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. And each piece struck that year carried not only the familiar imagery, but also the weight of tradition. 1998. Jefferson nickels were minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities for circulation. While the San Francisco Mint produced proof versions for collectors, the Philadelphia Mint coins carried no mint mark. As was the custom at the time, the Denver Mint coins bore the D mark, and the San Francisco proofs carried the S Mint mark. These distinctions are crucial for collectors because they help identify not only the place of production, but also the relative rarity of each type. In that year, billions of nickels were produced for circulation, meaning the 1998 Jefferson nickel is not considered scarce in terms of mintage. However, the quality and condition of the coin play an enormous role in determining its value. Today, the obverse portrait of Jefferson in 1998 still showed Schlag's design, though by this point, critics had long debated whether the image truly captured Jefferson's likeness. Some considered the design too stylized, while others praised its classic look. But regardless of artistic debates, the portrait became one of the most recognizable American coin images of the 20th century. Jefferson faces left with the motto, "In God We Trust," along the left rim, and the word liberty written in his own script style to the right, along with the year 1998, and the mint mark when present. The reverse displays Monticello Jefferson's plantation home with its neoclassical dome, and pillars beneath it appear the words, "Monticello 5 cents, United States of America," and above it, the national motto, "E pluribus." In terms of mintages, the 1998 Philadelphia Mint struck over 1 billion Jefferson nickels, while the Denver Mint also produced close to 1 billion. The San Francisco Mint struck several million proof nickels for collectors. These proof coins were made with sharp detail, polished dies, and special planchets, giving them a mirror-like appearance that sets them apart from ordinary circulation strikes. These proofs came in both clad and silver versions when issued in proof sets by the mint collectors, and numismatists often seek out high-grade examples of the 1998 Jefferson nickel coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC in Mint State 65, or higher can command a premium, especially those with strong strikes, attractive luster, and Minimal contact marks. Full steps designations are particularly prized. This refers to the detail on the steps of Monticello on the reverse, when these steps are fully struck and show no interruptions. The coin becomes far more desirable since many nickels even from fresh minting years failed to achieve a fully detailed strike. Thus, full steps nickels from 1998 are not rare in absolute terms, but in gem condition with strong steps, they can fetch significantly more than face value the year. 1998 itself was significant. In the larger historical context, the United States was experiencing a booming economy driven by technology and the dot-com era. The Jefferson nickel in circulation reflected the everyday commerce of that time being used. In vending machines, parking meters, and countless transactions across the nation, it was a coin of ordinary people. Yet, in the hands of collectors, it became a window into both monetary history and the artistry of American coinage. The long-standing design of the Jefferson nickel would only remain for a few more years. After 1998 and 2004, and 2005, the Mint introduced the Westward Journey nickel series to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and by 2006, a new forward-facing portrait of Jefferson designed by Jamie Franke replaced Schlag's classic profile. Thus, the 1998 nickel represents one of the final years of the original uninterrupted design, making it historically important as part of the closing chapter. Of a 6-decade tradition, errors and varieties also add intrigue to the 1998 Jefferson nickel. While most coins struck that year were ordinary, some exhibit die cracks off center strikes, double die, obverses or reverses, and other striking anomalies, which are carefully studied by specialists. Such coins can transform a 5-cent piece into a collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and condition. For 2 hours, one can explore not just the technical aspects of the 1998 Jefferson nickel, but also the cultural, artistic, and economic dimensions surrounding it, the sculptural decisions of Felix Schlag, the evolution of U.S. mint practices, the impact of circulation wear and collecting trends, the significance of proof coins and mint marks, the rarity of full steps designations, and the broader economic climate of 1998 all combine to paint a full picture of why this nickel is more than just a small coin in your pocket. It is a symbol of American heritage, a link between past and present, and a collectible that tells a story worth listening to in detail.